Thanks for joining me for Plan Like a Ninja using Google Calendar. When I saw this graphic, I just laughed. I thought, so perfect. So now, sorry, I'm Meg. I'm Meg Wormiston, and I am a former classroom teacher. I taught second grade, third grade, fourth grade, sixth grade, math K-8, computers K-8, and now I help teachers locally, nationally, and internationally work with technology. So thanks for joining me for this presentation. Now, when we talk about planning, we're going to talk today about using a Google Calendar. If you are using something else, this lesson will give you some great ideas. Like, for example, some districts are transitioning to Google, but for right now you are in Outlook. You can still get great ideas from this segment, but we'll be focusing specifically on Google Calendar, mainly because so many schools are moving toward Google. And that's the key, and I want you to be on the cutting edge. So, what is your purpose? What are you going to be planning for? That's the key. So, understand the why before the how. A lot of times we don't think about the why. What are we doing? What are we planning for? We get so stuck into jumping into the technology tool. In one week it might be Outlook, and the next week it's Google, and you get so confused. But think about why. What are you planning for? And that's what I want you to really focus for this session. So let's focus. What could you be planning for? Teachers, you have so much to plan for. Just a couple ideas. Maybe you're just going to do your lesson and your unit plans. And that's going to be your professional timeline of the year. That might be one calendar. You might also have more of a public calendar for classroom projects, things going on in homework. You might have a professional one, like for example, you might have one for your grade level or your department. Maybe that might be a calendar that you're going to use. You might run, like everybody else, clubs and teams and things like that. They might need their own calendar. And then, I know it's hard to believe, but that you might even have a life outside of school that needs its own calendar. So, the why. What do you want to plan for first? Do not attempt in this segment to plan for all of them. Pick one or two maybe, because it's really important for you to understand with Google Calendar the sharing part of it. So that's the key. So focus, and maybe it's just lesson planning, unit planning. You want to kind of lay out the year, kind of get a sense of how you're going to fit all these pieces together. Whatever it is, focus on that for the rest of the segment. We are going to be ninja organized this year. We're going to be everything that we try to be, and we're going to have it. And the great part, by using Google Calendar, you can have your calendar with you anytime, any place, anywhere, on any device that can get on the internet. That's really cool. See what's going on at any moment. All right, so the creating part. The creating your calendar. Make sure you have very clear why before you get into the actual creating and building and making. I have selected Google Calendar because so many schools are moving toward what's called Google Apps for Education. And what that is it is Google for your whole domain. That's what they call it. And that way, everybody has access to Google. You, your students, your colleagues. And most schools are moving toward this direction mainly because it's free. Okay, we love free. We are teachers. Free, and also to get our kids college and career ready, because so many of our universities are already there. And so you start launching your Google Drive. If you have no idea what I'm saying, go to Google. In the upper right hand corner, it might say it's got your name. That's great. If you look at the top of this, we call it the waffle. I don't know, the little grid. And click on that, and then Drive is the rectangle one. And so that's Drive. That's what you're used to going to just save your docs and everything. But if you look to the right of Drive, it's Calendar. And Calendar actually isn't considered part of Google Drive. It actually is a separate Google product that's been around. I think I've been using Google Calendar for over 8 years, maybe 7, somewhere around there. Once you launch Calendar, we can then go ahead and create your calendar. So you have to start by creating a calendar. And so to find this is on the left-hand column, and it is calendars. And so you can go in here and you can add your own calendar. And well, when we get down the road, we can even add our friends' calendars to that. So go ahead and go in and make your calendar, and you can have, as far as I know in my research, an unlimited number of calendars. So let's say, take for example, your lesson in your unit planning. Maybe that's your mission, your why today. You might want to share that with colleagues. You might want to share that with a supervisor, maybe, or maybe that's just for you and your personal planning. But let's take a classroom and homework, well, classroom events and then homework. That might be shared not only with your students, but maybe even with their parents, so their parents know what's going on. So the sharing is the key to Google Calendar. So we'll talk more about that, but right now you need to name your calendar. And so name it whatever you'd like, whatever your mission is. And I would go ahead and create new calendar right from the down arrow. So at any point, please stop me, pause, and you might want to have another computer and kind of be doing this and then start me back up again. That is fine, whatever works for your brain. Okay, now don't get overwhelmed when you look at this, but I want you to know that every single calendar has its own settings. So look across the top where my arrow is pointing to the different settings. This is right now we are in the general settings. And the general settings are really kind of your real basic stuff. Your language, make sure you set your time zone correctly. That's very interesting. Is that if you don't, everything is thrown off. So set that correctly, dates, times, um, so on and so forth. So you have that kind of in your general. Now here's the great news is you don't have to make all these decisions right now. You can start working with this and then you come back into the settings and say, ooh, I need to fix something, whatever it is. All right, so that is the general settings. The next one is the calendar settings. Now, I'm just going to cover a couple of my favorite ones. First of all, the event dimming. I've never heard of that term outside of Google Calendar, but it dims your past events. It keeps them there, which I really, really like. If I have to look back and see what we did last Tuesday, it's there, but it dims it so it's kind of not active, if you want to think of it that way. Your location. Now the weather one, I show the weather on my calendar. I probably don't need to. People can invite you to your calendar and you can decline or accept events. And your administrator might be using that right now. And I automatically add those invitations to my calendar. So if I get an invitation to a meeting through my email, mine is automatically put on my calendar. So is all my flights to wherever I'm going. And automatically I know exactly where I'm going on what date, and I love that. And so I've never used the alternate calendar, so I'm not sure what that is. Okay, now we are in the mobile settings. Now again, this is your choice if you want to do this. Like for example, your unit and lesson planning, maybe that doesn't have to be in a mobile setting, but maybe your professional calendar you do. So when you meet somebody in the hall and they say, hey, we have to have a meeting, if you had it on your device, you could immediately schedule that. So it's your choice if you want to go ahead and do that. You basically put in your phone number. Google sends you a verification code within seconds. You put that in, and then it basically is giving Google permission to push to your phone or your mobile. Google Labs. I point this out to you because Google is constantly creating, inventing add-ons. I'm going to call them add-ons for this case, and they call them Google Labs. And in Google Labs, you can go ahead and select all different things that you might want to add to your calendar. These, a lot of times, things in Labs kind of come and go. Unfortunately, a couple of them have left recently, and one of them was the ability to send text messages to you about events that were coming up in your calendar. I had a friend that was like her lifeline, and as I was prepping for this, I just noticed that they are eliminating that service now. And so in June, there it is. That's where my big arrow was there in the mobile setup. On June 27th, they will no longer send the SMS notifications. I loved it. It was just another way to stay organized like a ninja. Here are just a couple more things that you can get in Google Labs. And really, it's just a fun way to do it. I actually use a lot. I use the world clock to schedule things in different time zones, so I really like that one. I know a lot of people use the background image. I find it's a little too much for me. Oh, one of the things I didn't mention in your settings is free or busy. You might not want everybody to see the minutia on your calendar, but they just want to see if you are free or if you're busy. So you can go ahead and enable that in Labs, and then you can go ahead and when you set up an event, uh, you can go ahead and say, you know, basically don't disclose the information, but I'm busy, so I'm not available at that time for that meeting. Um, and this is just a few more that are in the labs. That year view, I also like that. Just kind of get, kind of see the big picture instead of going month by month. I like that. All right, sharing. This is the key with uh, Google Calendar is the sharing. Everything within Google, the sharing is key because you can then get everybody on the same virtual page, if you can imagine that. And you can keep absolutely you can keep it private. Your calendar, everything in Google is always kept private until you choose to share it. So very important to understand that sharing piece. Now, in your calendar settings, I'm back now to calendars, and this is where these are, if you look on the left, I have a lot of different calendars. And then on the right, you can go ahead and decide who to share it with. And so very, very important, like with my publisher, I just share my free or busy so they know what days they can plan events for me. But for like my husband, for example, he can see all the minutia. It doesn't matter. You make the choice of what you want people to see on any calendar if you want them to see anything. One point, if you look on the far right, notifications. I, I have played with notifications for a lot of years, and I've finally right now I'm at no notifications because I was getting pinged all the time. It felt like from 4 different events. I knew they were on the calendar, so I didn't feel the need to get notifications. This is something you're really going to have to play with. So set them however you'd like, but know that you can always come back and change anything. Very, very important. There's our SMS message that we got. Adding events. There's a lot of features that you can do when we go to add an event to a calendar. So let's take a look at those. First of all, be descriptive in your name. And so go ahead and put in whatever the name of your event is going to be. And then pick your date, your start and your end date. And then the next one underneath, you see where it says all day or repeat. So all day that is going to block out, just put a single bar of color across that date. If you put in a time, then you are going to, you'll have multiple bars, if you'd imagine, or multiple text on each of your days. Repeat. Repeat works great if you have an appointment every Tuesday. You can go ahead and put it in once and tell it how long you would like it to repeat. What a great time saver. Then you can add details, and you can add as many details as you want. That description box is going to grow as you put in more text. So some people are using Google Calendar for lesson planning. And so they put all their details in there. It's up to you how much you want to go ahead and put in there. You can go ahead and put in where the location is. And now you can even add attachments to an event. So let's say you're going to a meeting next Thursday. They send you the agenda. Great. Immediately put it on your calendar and attach the agenda right to the event. So as you're running out the door to get to the meeting, you don't have to worry about, do I have the agenda? It's all hooked right into that event. That is such a huge time saver. Now, they made a really nice choice. Back when it started, you could color code your calendars, but that means that every event on that calendar was that color. Now you can color code your events within the calendar, which is really, really nice. There's that notifications again. Or if you just don't want anybody to see the details, you can go ahead and mark it as busy. And what calendar do you want it in? Do you want it public? Do you want it private? So you are completely in charge. Over to the right, you can invite guests to your calendar, or you can modify the events, invite others, and so on and so forth. Okay, now embedding. embedding your calendar. What the word embedding means is you still create everything within the world of Google Calendar, but then by embedding, which is the first time you do it, it's a little awkward because you have to copy some code and embed it. But what that really means is you make the change in Google Calendar and it's going to flow out to all of your other, wherever you've embedded that. So it kind of flows is the best non-technical term. I can go ahead and explain that. And Google makes it so easy for you to embed something because in the calendar details, now I'm in, you can come in and right in the like in the middle of the page you can see where it says embed this calendar. All you have to do is paste this code into your website. So let's say that your school district has provided you with a website, but you kind of don't like the calendar feature over there. You can still keep that website but embed your Google Calendar right within there. It's really, really nice. And you can always delete calendars and things like that also. Now, here are the details. And this is my calendar. This one is not public, but you could make it public if you wanted. And that then you appear in Google search results. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that. But again, here is where you share. So, for example, with my publisher, sometimes people leave the professional development. I have to come in here and change their email addresses. This is where you tell who can see your events. So it's really key. Always remember in anything Google, you the creator, are in charge of who you share things with if you choose to share things. Now, Google Calendar, the app, I really like the app. Actually, they made some really serious upgrades to the app recently, which is a lot of fun. Now, here's the hard part. You have to go create your calendar. You have to create the events. So grab your coffee and start creating. So thanks. I'm Meg. I wanted to give you my contact information. Feel free, absolutely, if you have any questions or you feel like you just need a little clarification, email me, Twitter me, whatever. That works great. I'd love to help you. And I want to give credit where credit is due. Slides Carnival, that's where this template came from. And I had a lot of fun playing with their free presentation templates. So I wanted to make sure I gave them credit because you are now going to be a ninja using your Google Calendar. Thanks so much.